These are my top 5 borderless decks of playing cards. Most decks of cards have the white line around the outside of the back design, but these decks do not have that white line, and that brings a lot of cool features into play. So first of which, at number 5, we have the circus playing cards. And honestly, because the lines go straight out and have a little bit of a bigger part at the end of each of one, that means fanning is going to look absolutely gorgeous. And because the lines are bigger on the ones in the corner and thinner the ones on the side, that actually means it's going to look like diamonds when you go all the way around it, which I never would have thought would have happened. The two-tone looks great, but let's get into number 4. And out of all of the borderless decks that I have, this is going to be the only one on this list that is not for cardistry. This one being a magic deck, this is the B playing cards. Specifically in this case, the golden edition. When you have playing cards like this, it just makes it great for hiding different sleight of hand techniques. Simply because of the fact that you can take out the second card and it still looks like you're pulling off the top one because of how masked they are. If you want to see a great example of this, I would definitely go check out the card mechanic. His profile looks like this, and I'll link him in the description below. Check out a lot of his reels and TikToks he's been putting up. One of them just crossed 1 million views. Here's just a quick example. I'll put that right here on the screen. But enough about my friend Vinny, let's get into number 3. And at number 3, we have the Virtuoso Fall Winter 17 playing cards. First of all, it looks like it's only going to have the grays, greens, blacks, and whites. You'll actually see that within each of the triangles, there's actually different colorations of each of those. So even with the green, you'll have 3 different shades of green. You'll have the dark black, then you'll have almost a really dark gray and a little bit of a lighter gray. You have 3 grays, and honestly, all of it coming together will give you a beautiful fan going mostly in green. And then when you fan it the other way, it'll give you a beautiful fan mostly in black. Plus with the circle back design, aerial moves look great, fanning looks great. You really can't get much better doing cardistry than with this deck right here. Getting into number 2, we are now at the Goblin deck by Gemini. This time it's the Gold Goblin deck. I do wish I had the green goblins. I'd probably like them a little bit more than these, but that's just because green's my favorite color. Now you'll notice that this portion here and this portion here on this outside line are going to be different, which means your fans are going to look cool in one way, and it's going to be different because of that when you fan it the other way. I love that it's not straight out, and unlike the circus playing cards where everyone is almost at the exact same angle and the same distance apart, this one is much more complex. Now before we get into number 1, I have 2 runner-ups. The first one being the Cardistry Fanning playing cards by Bacopo. This deck right here is honestly, it does what it says it's going to do. It's going to fan great. Black, white, red, and gray. It's a lot like the original Virtuosos, except for everything taken down to a bit smaller, which is why it's not as good as the Virtuosos. I'm also not quite as big of a fan of the stock of this deck, but that's not what you're here for. Probably my favorite part about this Borderless back design is the fact that Shrieking is in the middle, which means it's not only great for fanning and packet cuts, but a lot of the things when it comes to aerial moves, which a lot of Borderless decks aren't very good with, this deck kicks butt. At number 6, we have the School of Cardistry V4. I do wish this deck could have been higher, but because it only fans one way beautifully and the other way is garbage, I had to leave it right here. So if you fan it one way, it's going to look great. That purple and gold combo, honestly, this back design is just beautiful in general. Then we fan it the other way. And honestly, that ain't very good looking. Now before we get into number 1, make sure to check out the description below so you guys can get a lot of these decks for 10% off using code cardperfectmagician. But getting into number 1, we actually have the Z deck by December Boys. For those of you who have seen most of the rest of the top 5 videos, this is actually becoming at number 1 or in the top 5 for a lot of them. Well, that's mostly just because it's my favorite deck of cards, and here's why. Firstly, I love monochromatic decks, and I love borderless designs. But some of the other decks have had that as well. A lot like the Goblin deck, it actually doesn't go straight off, and it has different increments of how wide the lines are. So fanning from one way and fanning from the other way, both ways are going to look gorgeous, unlike all the other decks. And that central Z in the center does make packet cuts look good as well. But my favorite thing to do with this deck is simply perform under pressure. Think of your favorite deck of playing cards that has a borderless design and let me know what that is down in the comments. And if you want to check out last year's top 5 video on borderless designs, you can check it out right there and the entire top 5 playlist from right there. And if you like top 5 just like this and everything about playing cards, I would highly recommend subscribing to the channel because I put new ones out all the time. Actually, that's what this entire month is about. Subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss out on anything. And if you want to check out any behind the scenes content, I'll link Patreon in the description below. But that's enough talking. I'll catch you guys in the next one. This is Card Perfect, signing off.